June marks my third year here in Knoxville, Tennessee. Thought I'd make a return visit here to the Signature Gallery, the main gallery here at the East Tennessee Museum and History Center here on Gay Street in downtown Knoxville. You know, one of the great things about returning here is so many of the artifacts and the items and the names and the pictures and the documents that I first passed by when I came here 3 years ago now have meaning and now have greater association and meaning than they did before. When I first came here, you know, I kind of went through this museum in about 15 minutes because, to be honest, it looked like every other museum that I'd ever gone through in a small town throughout the country in the previous 7 years. So it really did not excite me or impress me. I didn't know what to look for. I didn't know who to look for. I didn't know what was significant or not. So I come back here 3 years later with a greater understanding of Knoxville and Knox County. And so many of the artifacts here have greater meaning to me upon my second look at it. Now, with that said, I've talked to a number of people here at the museum, at the front desk and such, and of course I have a long history with the History Project here in Knoxville. But one pressing problem that I find with this museum is the lack of notes that go with the items. You know, certain things I recognize now that I didn't recognize before. But you know, there's no corresponding notation or where it came from, point of origin. That is a block of marble. Above, you know, what came of the marble quarries here. But I challenge anyone here to find any sort of reference here in front or there in back as to where it came from. You know, there's more than one quarry here. And the historians have a lot of allusions, you know. There's famous paintings of rock quarries in the back and, you know, done by local artists and such like that. But there's nothing specific, you know, to pinpoint where that came from. It's just like here, marble, quarries, logging, you know, mining. You know, it's if the historians here at the center thought this was unique to Knox County, you know, they're gravely mistaken. Every every city in the country has a quarry, you know? Every city in the country, has these artifacts, these items, these neighbors from the past. But unless in some way they're made uniquely East Tennessee, what is the point of seeing this stuff? I mean, it's bad enough, when you go through this, and it's like, yeah, Mom, it's like, this is dull, But Dad wants to see it, maybe. But what point is it? What point does it serve when you have something like this? This poor Negro here. All right. Now, this portrait was done by a local artist, probably the premier local artist in Knoxville. His name was Lloyd Branson. All right? That's his signature there. All right. Now, he was a painter that inspired the Delaney's, Wiley. He defined and inspired and tutored many of the Knoxville painters that would go on to become, more nationally, if not internationally renowned. It's a painting by Lloyd Branson. Now, if you don't have 3 years in here to Knox County or Knoxville, or your mother or brother, sister, doesn't live here, you would never know who Lloyd Branson is. Because there is no note here that tells you who he is. Okay? Front or back. And more to the point, and more frustrating, seeing this black portrait of a black man done by a local artist is, I want to know, after 3 years here in Knoxville, who was that black man that was able to afford to have his portrait done by Lloyd Branson. Lloyd Branson did portraits. He was commissioned portraits for wealthy people, the McClungs, the pioneers here of East Tennessee, paid local artist Lloyd Branson to paint them, to paint portraits of them. Where did a black man get that money? Who was that black man who could afford such a portrait? Again, there's no tag, there's no identifying information to the artifact. And it's frustrating, because I come back here with so much more knowledge after 3 years of learning the history of Knox County, and specifically Knoxville, the scrub city, as it was called by the New York Times reporter who visited the World's Fair in 1982. But there's no definition, and there's no tie to Knox County or Knoxville with many of these fantastic artifacts here in the East Tennessee Museum. By the way, thing over there, in the middle, sort of the feature of the hard work and the industry, the quarries here in mining the Tennessee marble. Yeah, that portrait was done, that picture was done by Lloyd Branson. You wouldn't know that. Here at the East Tennessee History Museum in Gay Street. Summer in Knoxville.